county assemblies for the welfare of society and just government of the people. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come without deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county. Honorable members, you may get seated. Clerk, next order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers, as listed in the appendix.
Proceed, Deputy Minority.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order, and in which point?
Madam Speaker, I rise on point of order number 39 on quorum at commencement of the County Assembly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Part 1 says a quorum of the County Assembly or of a committee of the All County Assembly shall be a third of its members. Madam Speaker, we expect a serious motion to be executed in this House today, and therefore, when it will be passed with a very few and low number like this, Madam Speaker, it will not have met the requisite necessities that are supposed to be undertaken in this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Confirm quorum. Okay, I'll proceed and ring the bell for 5 minutes. The whips to whip their members so that we can execute the matters ahead of us. confirm if there is still quorum. Order, Honorable Fokerio Delta. Honorable Fokerio Delta, order. We are still in this house. Okay, proceed and ring for another extra 5 minutes. Meanwhile, can you whip the members? Let us try and reach out to our fellow, because we have a lot at hand, and we are breaking on Thursday. No, but we cannot continue until we meet quorum. No. We follow the standing order. We don't follow what you think. Proceed and confirm. I think we have quorum. Honorable Umusia is coming. And where is the majority whip? Oh, proceed, and table.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise to lay the following papers. One, the report of the Auditor General on Turkana County Health Service Fund, financial year 2024-2025. Two, the report of the Auditor General on Turkana County Youth and Women Empowerment Fund for financial year 2024-2025. Three, the report of the Auditor General on Turkana County Emergency Fund for financial year 2024-2025. Four, the report of the Auditor General on Turkana County Cooperatives Enterprises Development Fund, financial year 2024-2025. Five, the report of the Auditor General on Lodwar Municipality, financial year 2024-2025. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I beg to lay.
Proceed and lay. The above reports are committed to the Public Accounts and Investment Committee. Next order.
Order number 6, notice of motion. Consideration of the report of the Committee on Special Funds, Accounts on Turkana County Established Fund, quarterly report and financial statement, financial year 2023-2024 and 2024-2025.
Honorable Mark Akeru.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to lay a report of the Committee on Special Funds, Accounts on Turkana County Establishment Fund quarterly reports and financial statements for financial year 2023/2024 and 2024/2025. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay.
You are not laying, you are giving a notice of motion. So it's okay. The notice of motion is shall be discussed in the afternoon. Next order.
Order number 7, statements. Order number 8, question time. Order number 9, motion. Consideration of the report of the Education, Sports and Social Protection Committee on consultative meeting on bursary allocation for financial year 2025-2026.
Honorable Michael 𝐂𝐒𝐒𝐿.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to give a motion. I rise to give motion that
You rise to move a motion.
rise to move a motion that the County Assembly considers and adopts the recommendations contained in the report of the Education, Sports and Social Protection Committee on consideration, consultative meeting on bursary allocations financial year 2025-26, laid before the House on Tuesday 31st March 2026 at 9 a.m. Madam Speaker, following the appearance of the CECM, Education, Sports and Social Protection, and the Chairperson of Education Fund Board before the County Assembly Committee on General Oversight on Tuesday, 24th March 2026, several critical issues were raised in the plenary regarding the administration of the Turkana County Education Fund for financial year 2025-26. Madam Speaker, to ensure transparency, legal compliance, and equitable distribution of the funds, the House resolved for a joint consultative meeting between the County Assembly Sectoral Committee on Education, Sports and Social Protection, the CCMs for Finance, Education, Sports and Social Protection, the Office of the Attorney, County Attorney, and the Education Fund Board to deliberate on and provide resolutions for the following. 1, review the Turkana Education Fund Act 2023 and its accompanying regulations. The objective is to identify inconsistencies and propose amendments to the Act or revisions to the regulations to ensure absolute concurrence. 2, to determine the way forward for the second phase of allocations in light of the glaring issues and irregularities highlighted by the honorable members during the Committee on General Oversight. 3, provide a clear justification and the specific data sets used to categorize wards as either populous or less populous under the second schedule of the regulations. 4, define the specific criteria used to distribute bursary funds across TVETs, colleges, and universities to ensure merit and needs are balanced. 5, clearly delineate and harmonize the roles of ward bursary committees versus the roles of the Education Fund Board to eliminate overlaps and administrative friction. 6, clarify the legal procedure for increasing bursary allocations, specifically confirming the roles of the executive in preparing estimates versus the Assembly's power of consideration and approval. 7, provide a comprehensive status report on the rare skills category, including a list of specific rare skills identified by the department. 2, the total amount disbursed to date and the proposed budget for the current cycle. C, a verified list of the number of beneficiaries currently supported by this scheme. Acknowledgement. Honorable Speaker, the committee sincerely wishes to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk for the dedicated support to the committee in disbursing its duty to ensure the report of the stakeholders' engagement meeting on consideration of the resolutions made by Right Honorable Speaker regarding the issues raised by the members during the Committee on General Oversight on Bursary Allocation for financial year 2025-2026. I further wish to extend my humble gratitude to the able members of the Secretariat who worked tirelessly and devoted their time and energy working over the weekends and sleeping late during the writing of the report to ensure the report is ready for tabling. A special mention of the efforts by county executive cannot go unnoticed. The CCM for Education, Sports and Social Protection, Office of the County Attorney, and the Education Fund Board. It is my pleasure to report that the committee has considered the resolutions made by Right Honorable Speaker, and I therefore present before the County Assembly for debate and subsequent approval. Madam Speaker, may I skip the previous?
Proceed.
Thank you. Committee proceedings and stakeholder engagement. Madam Speaker, upon committal of the Committee on General Oversight resolutions, the committee, together with the CCM, Education, Sports and Social Protection, the Office of the County Attorney, and County Education Fund Board, proceeded and considered the following. The committee on 26 March 2026 had a consultative meeting with aforementioned officers and deliberated extensively on every issue that was raised. During the consultative meeting, every insightful comments made by each party was considered critically, objectively, and within the required context, since the goal of all the parties was geared towards achieving a workable solution. Besides, the committee retreated to prepare its report immediately after the consultative session with the aforementioned officers to ensure the report is ready to be tabled before the House for approval or disapproval thereof. The committee observations and findings. Madam Speaker, the committee has made the following observations and findings pertaining to the resolutions: that 1, there exists glaring inconsistencies between various provisions of Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023 and its subsequent regulations. The detailed analysis on the inconsistencies and proposed amendments thereto have been annexed. 2, the board failed to submit its resolutions and guidelines to the Assembly for approval. 3, the allocation to the fund is less than the required amount of 4% of the county budget as per Section 61A of the Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023. 4, the formula and criteria used to classify wards as either populous or less populous seems to rely on absolute data and resolutions arrived at during the first assembly. 5. The circular by the board providing a minimum allocation of Kenya shillings 15,000 is not in tandem with the growing students' population and needs. 6. There were instances of rampant anomalies such as double allocations, fictitious students, and fictitious schools phenomena. 7. The ward bursary committee incurs a lot of expenses in their course of their operations, which is not compensated by the Education Fund Board. 8. There was glaring conflict of roles between the board and the ward bursary committee. 9. Most of the bursary consumers are secondary schools, which translate to 65%, followed by the tertiary institutions and university at 20% and less than 10% for other courses. 10. The county scholarship components of the Act did not manage to pick up as expected because of the contested university funding model. 11. The county higher education loan program was not operationalized because the target group was unclear in the Act. 12. There are delays in bursary disbursements, causing inconveniences with the academic calendar of the students. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends as follows: that the status quo in relation to disbursement of Phase 1 bursary for this financial year stands. 2, the minimum amount of bursary to be disbursed in the next phase should be as follows. 1, driving schools, computer training, artisan courses, geology, day schools, and any other course within this category to be awarded Kenya shillings 5,000 as minimum. 2, boarding secondary schools and tertiary institutions, that is colleges, TVETs, to be awarded Kenya shillings 10,000 as a minimum. 3, university students to be awarded Kenya shillings 15,000. Exceptions shall apply to all categories based on poverty levels, fees arrears, vulnerability levels. 3, the amendments of the Turkana Education Fund Act 2023 and subsequent review of regulations should be considered. 4, the board should be submitting its resolutions and guidelines to the Assembly for approval. 5, the County Education Board should be disbursing bursaries on time and in line with the academic calendar of the students. 6, the Education Fund Board to initiate a formulation of the new formula to address the issue of populous and less populous based on the latest population data. Significantly, the final formula should be submitted to the Assembly for approval. 7, The statutory allocation of 4% to the fund provided under Section 6(1)(a) of the Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023 should be implemented during budget estimate consideration. 8, the Ward Bursary Committee to be facilitated more to support their effective and efficient operations. 9, the Ward Bursary Committee should digitize their services to minimize administrative costs of the fund. This calls for the Education Fund Board to provide necessary tools such as laptops, design, and rollout of applications. 10, both structure of bursary governance, that is both the board and Ward Bursary Committee, to set up with effective mechanisms to address anomalies such as double allocations, ghost students, and fictitious institutions. 11, waiting for the court to pronounce itself on the sharing ratio of the school fees among other government help and parents. 12, the rare skills identified in the Act, which includes engineering, teaching, agriculture, medicine, I think nursing, ICT, to be catered for through scholarship. 13, amend the Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023 to remove the components of loan since it is not sustainable. 14, new rare skills such as marine science, aquatic science, and other skills that the county is in dire need to be considered and supported as rare skills. Adoption of the report. Madam Speaker, the committee sitting held on 30th March 2026 unanimously adopted the report without any dissent views, and on behalf of the committee, I append my signature to confirm the deliberations of the committee and ask the House to consider and approve. And the members listed there. Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. I think I just want to say that the report is precise, clear, but so just to have a few minutes, just maybe to put emphasis. Truly, the report follows the appearance of the CCM, Education, Sports and Social Protection, and Turkana County Education Fund Board, of course, who appeared in this house during the oversight sitting. I think that meeting revealed a number of issues, critical issues raised by members in this house, that there were areas that were so much glaring, that needed absolute consultation and engagement. And so, once thank the the Honorable Speaker, the Right Honorable Speaker, who of course gave directives that this committee meets with those stakeholders and so that the deliberations are set and sent to this House for discussions. So that was done, of course, well. And so I want to say that that was a little meeting as relieved as sorted a number of issues, which I think members, the members' views were not very clear. And I want to say that I think this House won because with the representation of the education committee. So one other issue was, you remember, following the circular delivered by the board, precipitated a number of course, issues to this House. And one of it was that the minimum, they had set a minimum of 15,000 for student beneficiary, and that said that that was the lowest. And I think, and then we say that I think the members are aware, and the wearers of the shoe. They know the challenges that are there, the rising populations, and so how many will benefit given this 15,000, and how many will be left? So we realize that quite a big number will be left out. And that will, of course, an outcry. So we say that at least what we agreed is that the disbursement for financial year 2025-26, it continue. That's the talk of the status quo, that in relation to disbursement, that it should continue as usual, as the committees have been doing. Whether they have been giving 5, whether they have been giving 3 or 4, depending on the needs. So that should continue to close that phase 1 chapter. So say that the minimum amount has now agreed on different categories. And then the minimum was 5,000 shillings. That is the lowest, depending on the categories. And we say that those taking courses on computer training, driving, artisan courses, home crafts, and all those ones, the minimum will be 5,000. But then we say the exceptions. We are saying that is the key word, with exception, depending on the needs, financial needs for these students. But the minimum is that. But the committees will, of course, look at it and see the needs. Because there are documents such as the fee structures and so forth. Even the schools are in this category of 5 as a minimum. And then the secondary, boarding secondary schools. Boarding secondary schools given a minimum of 10,000. A minimum of 10,000. Even tertiary colleges, a minimum of 10,000, but with the exceptions, as I have mentioned. Universities, the lowest beneficiary is 15,000. 15,000. So with all these categories, of course, those are the minimums, but then depending on the population, financial needs, then it is the committee to look at those kind of vulnerability of a student, arrears. So those are considerations that the committee will look at it. And I also say that the amendment of the Turkana, because we say that there is need to amend the Turkana County Education Fund Act, that of 2023, and regulations reviewed should be considered. That is what was resolved, that there is need, because there are inconsistencies there are gaps. So the board will definitely, and the county attorney will look at this as a necessity so that it is necessary that amendments are done with time. And also the board should be submitting its resolutions and guidelines to the assembly for approval. Indeed, like whatever they do as though they are not aware that the honorable members are here responsible for approval of any new upcoming issue that affects the community, our people. So any guidelines by the board, it should be submitted here for discussion and approval. The board should be, the County Education Fund Board also should be disbursing bursaries on time. Yeah, indeed true. Delays in disbursement of the bursaries inconvenience many students, and many students are sent home and they skip lessons, and that may lead to even poor performance. So if the funds, if it is disbursed in good time, then students are not inconvenienced. They go to school at the right time. So it should be, the board should be observant on the calendar, students' calendar. Also, the board should be the Education Fund Board to initiate formula. Because we said what criteria were arrived at that this word is populous, this word is less populous. What criteria? What parameters? So as we say that they should examine the formula, because what they are using is what the information, maybe the data they had in the first assembly. So as time goes, the population, student population in every ward and they are still down there when the first assembly was started. So there is need for them to initiate a formula, a criteria of arriving at this word is populous, this word is less populous. So it is up to them to look at that. The urge of the committee was that they bring out a new data, but that one is obsolete, is outdated. So they come up with a new one, a new formula for considering this word as populous or less popular. Statutory allocation of 4%. In the Mother Act, in the Act, what is in the Act is that this bursary is allocated 4% of the total sum of money to the county. So 4%, and it appears this has never been, it has not been followed up. So what they are giving is not 4, it's less, and yet is not less than 4. It's not less than 4. So we don't say that that allocation of that to provide the 4% as following Section 61A of the Turkana Education Fund Act 2023 should be implemented during the budget estimates and considerations. So we want to say that our honorable members who are also seated and at the budget committee should also look at that, but it originates from the executive, The ward bursary committee to be facilitated more. Our committee, ward committees undergo a lot of pressure, and members, you know all this. That at times, even for them to conduct meetings during this very time, they do not have resources, they do not have funds for them to work on this very tiresome activity. So realize that the board, the fund board, has not been taking care of that. So there is need for this committee to be facilitated more for effective and efficient operations. The Ward Bursary Committee should digitize their services. Okay, handling that bulk manually. And you know what they are saying is that the ward committee is supposed to produce the long list and the short list. So the whole list is all those who applied. If it is 6,000, that ward committee should produce that list. It is that is a determinant to them to classify the wards as populous or less populous. So they want to confirm that list is what they need, so that so producing this list, even 1,000 producing or 700 is so tedious. So they need to be supported. The Education Fund Board should actually facilitate them. Now, to avoid maybe that to be very successful, they are required to digitize their services, which of course means they will need modern gadgets, they need laptops, they will need this, so that, Madam Speaker, that both structures of the bursary, governance board and the board to come up with effective mechanisms to address the anomalies. The board claims that there are abnormal lists, there are anomalies in the lists, that there are students who are ghosts, there are students that are ghosts, there are institutions that are fictitious. So to them, they look at that as so both the ward committee and the board should come up with the mechanisms to address these issues. So they are supposed to come with mechanisms. How will this be addressed? How will they identify ghost students, ghost institutions? So they say they have information. They have information, and that we agree that they come up with those mechanisms for allocation. 11, scholarship, waiting to the court pronouncement. The scholarship has not taken off since, and the reason is that there are issues in the funding model, and that is why those cases have not taken off, but they were contested. They are yet in court to identify what do parents give, what the government gives. So what is there is that say that the court should come up with the mechanisms. They should come up, should pronounce, of course, itself on the sharing ratio of scholarship. So that is yet, and that is why the scholarship program has, of course, not taken. Rare skills. On rare skills, what rare skills have been identified by the Act? So, in the Mother Act, the rare skills are identified in Turkana County are engineering courses, teaching, agriculture, nursing courses, medicine, ICT. This to be catered for through the scholarship. That rare courses are, of course, where courses that are identified that many students do not attend, do not take, either because, of course, career choices is a problem, or due to fees. Because if you look at these courses are courses that are highly paid, school fees paid. So sometimes students fear to take them up, but still the county needs it terribly. It's in dire need of these courses that have been mentioned here. So apart from encouraging students to take this, then the scholarship should cater for, of course, these courses. Other courses, other new rare skills, such as marine science, aquatic science, and other skills that the county is in dire need to also be considered. This could be new courses, rare skills that are not here. And so students be encouraged to take them up, and they be catered in their school fees. Finally, that the board and the county attorney to amend the Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023 to remove the component of the loan, since it is not sustainable. Honorable members, also the loan category, which was one of the components, has not also taken off. The reason is that it's not clear. You know, what I'm saying is that the loan was to be offered to the county staff and the assembly. But there is fear, of course, that what about other citizens? What about other residents? So they looked at it as it is biased. And again, when it comes to payment, when it comes to the payment of loan, it is feared that people may not comply, and thus it will not be effective. It cannot be sustained, because it is revolving. And if the payments are not made, with the interest, then I think definitely the program may not continue. So there is need to amend the act so that the component on the loan is, of course, is removed, because it's not reliable, it's not consistent, it's not sustainable. Madam Speaker, sorry for that time, but it was just a bit of clarities, and that I just want to request the House to approve this report, and that I want to request Honorable Samuel Aliwo of MCA Lobokat to second this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Proceed, Honorable Aliwo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to second this motion on deliberations on the sectorial committee on education, sports, and social protection on issues to do with the question that arose or was sponsored by Honorable Anaclet Lemuya from Lobey Kotaruk Ward. Madam Speaker, we are speaking about education here. Madam Speaker, our Constitution of 2010, Section 43F, speaks of every person has a right to education. So, Madam Speaker, when we were deliberating on this, or when we were interrogating the CECM and the board, plus the Office of the Attorney, Madam Speaker, there were a number of glaring issues that came out, and therefore, it necessitated the presiding speaker to commit this item to the relevant committee. Therefore, we processed the report, and because this is a matter of very serious importance, which is education. And I want to refer to one of the scholars, come political leader, that is the former president, or the first black president of the nation of South Africa, that is Nelson Mandela, that he said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So education from ensuring that our learners will shape this county, Madam Speaker, it will not be welcome. So, Madam Speaker, he also said education is the engine of personal development. And finally, I want to refer this part that says, through education, the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, and the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, or the head of even the state. So, Madam Speaker, when we were arguing on the issue of bursary, we were looking at how fair can this be, that each and every learner that requires assistance gets substantive assistance, and in a manner that is able to continue with the learning, Madam Speaker. So a number of things that we considered, Madam Speaker, during our engagement with the following offices, that is the office of the County Executive Committee member in charge of education, sports and social protection, the office of the county attorney, county education fund board, Madam Speaker. We saw, we discussed on the following one, that the glaring inconsistency between various provisions of the County Fund Act and its consequent regulations. So, Madam Speaker, you will find that the Act gives mandate to the board, for example. The regulation gives it the ward committee. So therefore, they are not they are not going together. They are not marrying on what they are directing, Madam Speaker. So we saw that it is prudent. It is important that the review of both the Act and the regulation starts immediately, so that as we progress on the bursary allocation, then we are able to use laws and regulations that are consistent to the needs of the society. Madam Speaker, another glaring thing is about the 4% that the Act required to be given from the disbursement or the county disbursement, Madam Speaker. When you see the 430, it's not the minimum of 4%. The 4% will go to, if we consider it with maybe 13 billion, it will come to 520 million, or if it goes to 17, it will go up there. So as we see that maybe the 15% of that the circular was directing was a bit higher, we also scrutinize on how do we add up this money to ensure that we give what is enough or what is subsequent, what is not, we cannot not enough, but can be sufficient for a learner to be in school. But again, we get numerous or many learners. So that is why we went back and say, what does the Act say about what it's required to be put on the fund? So what is required to be put in the fund, Madam Speaker, is supposed to be a minimum of 4%. So therefore, if the county government allocates the minimum of 4% into the fund, then we will have sorted out the issue of the lower number of the learners that maybe benefit from it. So, Madam Speaker, we also queried the formula of populous and less populous. And just the way the motion mover has already put it, Madam Speaker, this formula relied on the stale information. The first county assembly, we have gone a number of factors has been undergone. People have given birth even to maybe many people. Number of learners have increased and many kind of things. And therefore, we said we need to review this formula so that maybe those wards that have grown in population, we can also elevate them from less populous to populous. Because sometimes at 2013, for example, a ward was less populous, given the factors that were surrounding it that time. After 15 years of such, that ward cannot still be in the same number of people, number of population, and the number of learners. So that outgrowth the formula. And therefore we said, as much as it may not be as urgent as it looked like, but the process of reviewing the formula used to determine populous and less populous wards need to start, to kickstart, so that within 2 years or so, we are able to rely on current data in terms of putting wards into, or classifying wards into populous or less populous, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the circular of 15,000 per learner, we said we will refer to the status quo. That is to mean what the ward bursary committees, the decision of the ward bursary committees as it used to be, will stay for the first phase of county bursary allocation. Then any changes will start from the second phase. And in that discussion, we said the second phase is also supposed to be immediately, because we are heading towards the end of financial year. So immediately the first allocation goes to school. Then the process of the second disbursement needs to start, Madam Speaker. So, so therefore, we allowed the status quo to continue. I want to refer to one of the committee recommendations, and the first one, not the first one, the second one says, the committee recommendations as follows. The minimum amount of bursary to be disbursed in the next phase shall be as follows. I think we must have not seen this era of next phase, because we don't rely on next phase alone. We meant the consequent phases of bursary allocation. Therefore, this needed to have S here, so that it becomes the minimum amount of bursary to be disbursed in the next phase, or the next phases shall be as follows. So that if we have this financial year, we'll have one phase. So we'll use the formula that is here in the next phase. But again, even after having these three, that driving, computer training, arts and courses, theology, day schools, and any other course within this category to be awarded 5,000, and 2 and 3 as it is there. We are also supposed to have put a clause that says this formula will be reviewed time to time to put into consideration the budgetary realities. Sometimes budgetary realities means the allocation that will come to this fund may be lower or may be higher. So in those realism, we need to see this formula that we will continuously have a clause that will allow both the board will allow the board to be reviewing this formula, but it will be approved by the county assembly. So this review will take into consideration the budgetary realities, growing student population, help funding models, because we now have the bands. We even don't know in the next government, will they change or they will remain with the bands that we have now. So those realities are what we say. We will have a clause in this, in this recommendation that will allow the review year after the year. Education system review. You see, we came from 844 and we are now in this CBE system. And therefore, if maybe the government again changes into something else, then we need to be alive to the realities that changes are always, or dynamism is always there. We also need to check the poverty level as well as vulnerability level. So these are my last recommendation, that as we head towards review of these things, a clause needs to be inserted here to allow review, I think annually or even after 3 years, so that we will go with the realism of what is there in the current situation. Madam Speaker, with those few contributions, I want to ask the House to support this report. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I see it as I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this county assembly considers the report of the Education, Sport and Social Protection Committee on consultative meeting on bursary allocation FY 2025-2026. The floor is now open for members' deliberation. Honorable Ruth Kuya.
Asante sana Madam Speaker. Mimi ningependa kuunga mkono hii report. Alafu ningependa kuongelea ya kwamba hii pesa, kuna watu hawatafaidika kwa hii pesa, kwa sababu tukisema tulipie secondary 5,000 na kuna mtoto ameitwa Lodwar, na Lodwar inalipisha kwa mfano 50,000, alafu tumlipie shilingi 5,000. Sioni kama itasaidia huyu mtoto wa 5,000. Na kuna watoto wale kweli wametoka kwao wakiwa hawana usaidizi yoyote. Hata tukiwalipia shilingi 10,000 hao watoto, kamati education ingekaa ione kama kuna watoto wale wanaweza lipiwa kwa secondary. Ndio kulipia 10,000 kwa mtoto mwenye ako Lodwar haisaidii chochote. Kuna wale watoto wale wako na usaidizi, pengine ndugu yake anafanya kazi, pengine mtu wao anafanya kazi, na ule total orphan mwenye ana mbele na nyuma, tutalipa hii pesa namna gani? Tungetengeneza vile, kamati ingetengeneza vile ya kusema kama kuna mtoto total orphan na ako na death certificate ya baba yake na mama yake, walete kwa committee walipiwe.
Honorable Ruth Kuya, nafikiri wakati chairperson alikuwa anasoma, alikuwa amedokeza hayo yote ya kwamba 10,000 italipwa, watakuwa naangalia kiwango ya mahitaji ya mtoto na pia kuangalia kama kuna mtoto ambaye iko kwa ripoti alisoma. Kwa hivyo iko sawa jinsi ambavyo unasema.
Nikirudi kwa driving, hata hiyo 5,000 haiwezi tosha driving. Driving mpaka upate license ni 18,000. Sipingi report, lakini mimi ningependa report ya kamati ingeangalia vile inaweza saidia hizi pesa. Ni hayo tu, nina support.
Honorable Papayo, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the report of the Committee on Education. First of all, Madam Speaker, allow me to appreciate the committee for the good work they did in consulting with the aforementioned officers in the report, and also to thank the Secretariat, who did a wonderful job and came with a very comprehensive and accurate and precise report. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the recommendations. I want to speak into the recommendations of this report. I totally agree with most of the recommendations. But, Madam Speaker, in one of the recommendations, two actually, even the Honorable Member for Lodwar Township said the 5,000 for driving is not enough. But, Madam Speaker, there are certain courses that you can do afterwards. In fact, driving is one of them. You can go for driving when you get a job. It's not why do we need to pay for somebody who goes for driving when there are so many kids who are missing bursaries for that matter? Why do I need to pay for somebody to do computer for 5,000, and there is a kid in secondary school which we need to pay for, or in colleges who are missing exam? So, Madam Speaker, that is why I've always emphasized to the ward advice, the ward bursary committee, to it is not necessary for us to be allocating money for driving, for computer. Those things, we can do them. If one kid from Lokrema wants to do computer, I can look for 5,000 and pay for that kid. But allow the rest of the kids who are in high school, who are in colleges, to access this bursary. That is one of the things that I saw in the report that I wanted to point out. I also want to appreciate the committee that we need to maintain the status quo in the distribution of bursary in phase 1. And I'm happy in the manner in which we've broken up the types of allocation, for boarding schools, for those who are day scholars or who are sleeping at home. And, Madam Speaker, even if we break those allocations in that manner, I want to refer to what the majority leader once said when we were discussing the issue of the bursary, that in fact for Takwel Ward, we have 6,000 applicants. 6,000 applicants. So, Madam Speaker, even if we go to allocating the amount we proposed, for the case of Takwel wards and other wards that I know, Madam Speaker, we will not. We will still have kids missing bursary, and that's why Madam Speaker, we need to speak into the issue of needs, into the vulnerable, the most vulnerable children, and that is the object of bursary, Madam Speaker. In as much as we want to give every child bursary, the intention of the bursary is to provide for the most vulnerable children. And that is why we will call the wisdom of the committees to look at the vulnerabilities as you allocate the bursary to all the children. Madam Speaker, on the issue of the 4%, the required percentage to be allocated for bursary, It is true, Madam Speaker, we've not adequately considered this percentage, which will have gone into a long way supporting more children. Because, Madam Speaker, in my calculation for the current running financial year, we needed to have over 560 million for bursary if we were to use the 4%. But the 430 is below the required 4%. And Madam Speaker, that requires us as the House or even the Committee on Budget to consider using the 4% in the subsequent budget allocations so that we can reach to a larger number of students so that we can have more money for bursary. Because, Madam Speaker, when we say, I always say in Turkana, we don't have farms. We don't do any farms in Turkana. The only major farm that we need to look into, that we need to be intentional in allocating even resources, is education. That is the only farm we can say confidently rely on now. And therefore, if the Act speaks of the 4%, minimum of 4%, then we need to go for that 4%, minimum of 4% in the allocation of the resources. So that when we have 460, we can speak of 10 million for the said populace, maybe in 8 or 9 million for the less populace, Madam Speaker. On the criteria for allocation of funds to wards, the criteria, it is indeed true that the board and the ministry and the committee of this House needs to come up with a reliable formula. In fact, Madam Speaker, even for allocation of funds or monies to the county government, there is a formula which requires or uses several parameters. So for this case, ours, we've only based on the most populous using the percentages, 55% for populous, 45% for less populous. But Madam Speaker, there are other key parameters that we needed to take into consideration so that we have a very reliable formula for allocation of funds. We cannot only base it on population. Madam Speaker, we have poverty index. Madam Speaker, we have household income. We have illiteracy levels. Those are some of the parameters that we needed to consider so that we come up with a formula for the allocation of bursaries to wards, other than saying that some wards are populous, others are not. So what about, you know, for example, I want to use 𝐂𝐒𝐒𝐿. You cannot compare the household income of people living in 𝐂𝐒𝐿 with those in Lobeko-Taruk or Lokriama-Lorengipi ward. You cannot, Madam Speaker. And therefore, those are some of the parameters we will suggest and propose to the board to consider next when coming up with a formula. Lastly, Madam Speaker, on new rare skills. Some weeks or 1 month ago, we saw some people doing feasibility or mapping of ferry transport along Lake Turkana. So when we speak of new rare skills on marine science or actuarial sciences, Madam Speaker, it should be intentional. Madam Speaker, we are aware in this county there are very rare skills that this county misses. And even the normal ones like engineers, we talk all of medical doctors, you know, we can count. I remember in Loima constituency, the current member of parliament initiated a program for medical students. And as we speak, it was a good program. And CDF has a very little allocation compared to the amount we have in the county bursary. So, Madam Speaker, we also need to be intentional. We need to be have a direction and do things in a very innovative ways. Even the ward bursary, we need to at least have some students, 1 or 2 for every ward, who pursues or undertakes rare skills. And it is something that we've not done, and even the board is grappling with this issue. I don't know why it has taken too long, and yet there are Turkana children who are ready to undertake these very, very important courses. So for the new rare skills, Madam Speaker, we need to be intentional. Even as we speak, the issue of the oil, the exploration of oil, it is coming. We needed people with skills. So you'll find when employment opportunities comes for technical courses, majority of those who are employed will be from other regions. When we will have taken that advantage and taken our children to pursue these rare courses. Madam Speaker, as I said, it is important that we review the Turkana County Education Fund Act 2023, because as you can see from the annexes, there is a lot of inconsistencies. There is a lot of things that you can see the act and the regulations. They don't speak to each other. They don't marry. They don't agree. So it is important for the board and the ministry and the office of the county attorney to move with speed, so that we have these amendments either with the act or the regulations. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
Honorable Dubon, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also stand to support this motion. Honorable Speaker, I am very grateful to this committee for the report they have tirelessly worked for and presented to this House. I must also be very grateful to the board, which brought this issue. I think it was a blessing in disguise when they decided to take upon themselves the issue of determining the minimum amount that an applicant should be given. Were it not for the error they made, I am very sure that we wouldn't have seen all the mistakes that the committee has enlisted and those ones that Honorable Opayo has talked about. So it is just good that sometimes something bad may also be a blessing in disguise. Madam Speaker, there are some things that tend to be contradicting. It should be remembered that this act is a product of our own efforts. It is also a product of the county solicitor, product of the CCM for education, and all those stakeholders. Because there is no way through which an office that was part and parcel of this act, 2023 is just a few years ago. And I don't think if there is any serious changes that have been done to these officers. It will be sometimes so funny for someone who developed this act again to come and cite inconsistencies. One of them is that it is clearly indicated that the loans have never been given out. And one of the reasons why the loans have not been given out is that the loan, the beneficiaries appear to be biased. While in real sense, the reason why the loan was advanced was to target the employees that are working for the county government and county assemblies. And this is usually normal. It should not be one reason why the loans should not be there. The reason of saying that the loans should target the county assembly staff and the executive staff is because they are bonded. There is something called bonding, meaning that when you are employed, you take a loan, and there is a promise. There is an agreement that when you finish your studies, you pay the loans, or you are even retained in the current capacity. This one happens in most cases. We cannot say that this facility should be given to just everybody. Because, Honorable Speaker, even at home, it is very easy for you to advance a loan to your domestic staff than to friends in the village. Because you know with your domestic staff, at the end of the month, you know that you will take money, part of the money that you should give to them. I think that one needs to be handled by the committee appropriately. There is also one observation that the committee gave, that the scholarship has never kicked off. I think this one is erratic. Because I remember one time we arraigned the CC member for education before this house to explain why money was given in an erroneous manner to some secondary school students. I don't know whether they were present when they gave this recommendation that the scholarship program has never kicked off. If they are saying that, what of the money that was allocated? We know of students that were given even 120,000 shillings. And those students have never been turned away from schools. So I think that one needs to be cleared. Another thing is, it is indeed true that 4% was not attained. It should also not be lost to this house that during the budget that is currently being run, the executive had not allocated any money for bursary education. It is actually us, the committee members for county, what do we call it, budget and budget appropriations committee that took it upon ourselves. Honorable Opayo was there, Honorable Dorcas Epusia was there, Honorable Lynette was there, I was also there. It is us that decided, when we saw that there was a vacuum, to allocate the 440 million to the bursary. So I know it is less than 4%, but it should be taken upon, it should be known that we tried as much as possible, but that one does not exonerate the executive from allocating at least 4% of the total budget towards education. Because what goes to the head will produce food for the stomach and the body. If we just allocate money to consumption, things that we consume on a daily basis, it will not give us a clear future. On bursary governance, it is true. I appreciate the committee. They have seen the inconsistencies that are there, and it is good that they have also highlighted what is expected to be done. But another thing that I really need to talk about is the issue of populous and less populous wards. The bottom line is that even with the populous wards, the money given is always a drop in the ocean. It does not satisfy even 50% of the ones that have been allocated this money. So we say that because many members are of the opinion that it should be reviewed, that is okay, but we should use maybe the Bureau of Statistics to give us these facts. We should also use other ways through which data is collected. We already have data based on voting, based on other things like community health volunteers have data for every village unit and all that. But the bottom line is that still this money will not be adequate. Even if we decide that today we review, no honorable member will accept that if Katilu ward is always getting 7.7 million, I am very sure that it will not still be okay if we struggle. I know Kalapata, my neighboring ward, gets, let's say, 6.6 or 6.7. Lokchar gets 7.7. Even if we try to find a formula, it would still mean that Kalapata may get maybe 7 million and Lokchar maybe gets 7.2. But that one is just sharing poverty. It is like distributing poverty equally. But what we should be talking of is increasing the total allocation for the bursary so that even those ones in Kalapata get, most of them get, at least half of them. And those ones in Lokichar, at least half of them. But as things stand, like in Katilu, we always struggle, the committee always struggles to make sure that it is 1,000 students benefit. And yet applicants are always around 4,000. So you see it is just a quarter of that. And then as I also finish, is that the committee has indicated that sometimes there is double allocation, fictitious schools or institutions, fictitious names. I wish the committee could also give a recommendation on how this is going to be handled. Especially a case where, I know of a few cases, not during this county assembly, but during the previous county assemblies, you find that an institution has 20 students. And what they usually do is that they have a list of all the students plus the money that is allocated. They address it, let's say, to a school. Let's say to Makerere University or Kampala University or whatever institution, and then you have 20 students there. They have been allocated money, another one 10,000, another one 5,000, and then the total is, let's say, 150,000 shillings. And then one check is written. And then a voucher is attached, showing Etubon William Samal, Samal Etubon, all those names, and indicating the amount. You know there is no security. The check there does not indicate the names of students. It only indicates 150 million. And then this other paper is the one that has names of students. And this paper is just an ordinary paper that someone goes into a cyber, types, edits. There are cases where you find that one clever student or a few clever students or even a person working with the county education, whatever, bursary, goes, plucks that paper, and then only writes maybe 2 names or 3 names. So all the 17, for instance, the 17, it was indicating 20 students, and then this paper, just like this one, is plugged. You see this one is typed, it is not complete. So it is plugged, then you go to a cyber, you only edit, you say 120 million, 150,000 for Etubon William Samal, 80,000, Honorable Dorcas Epusie, 20,000, and then Lynette Abok, this total 150. And the list that we have here indicates 20 students who are allocated money and it has been paid. What is the committee recommending? What mode of handling this illegality is what do I say? Sorry, is recommended by the committee. So I say that the committee should ask the board to have another very good way of doing that, so that maybe even the list should be printed on a special type of paper, or a paper that must have rubber stamps or the seal of the county government or the whatever, so as we prevent this from happening. Failure to do that, we always have losses. Another thing as I wind up is that what happens to the double allocated money? Because you find, let's say, a student in Katilu has been allocated 10,000. The same student has been allocated maybe in Kaptir, 5,000, or another one has been allocated in Kibish, 2,000. Another one has been allocated maybe in Kalapata. And then this student appears to be having, let's say, 40,000. But in the list, you will never see 40,000. You will only see maybe 10,000, or the entire money is not there. Where is this money taken? Or maybe the Honorable Chair will tell us about that. Double allocations have been mentioned, but mechanisms of handling double allocations have not been stated. And the way through which the money is recovered, when the money is recovered, where does it go? And it should never be forgotten that where a human being works, an error is bound to happen. So one way of making sure that this one does not occur is to make sure that every committee is always given a list of the students they have allocated money. Honorable Speaker, what happens actually again is that after the committee sits and allocates, let's say, to 1,000 students money. This list is given to the board here. Then what happens is that sometimes there is manipulation. You find a student that was allocated 20,000 has been reallocated only 12,000. You will find another one, name is missing. That is an anomaly that is also taking place here. And this is a way through which some rich people have their children being educated. That's a way through which, and it should also be said, if nobody has ever said, there are also ways through which people get money wrongly from this bursary. We have known of cases where someone is just told, well, okay, you want to be given 20,000, you bring 20% of 20,000. For any 10,000 shillings that is allocated, 2,000 is given. And even one would be rising with standing order 101, I will be ready to give those, but I know the ones who are always with that are not around. So, Honorable Speaker, that one needs to be handled. And with that, I support.
The move of the motion, you can reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to appreciate, I want to acknowledge the contribution of members. So good. I want to applaud them. I think Honorable Rose Kuya, I think was answered by, was guided by Madam Speaker, kwamba mheshimiwa alikuwa anazungumzia mnapogawa pesa hizi, kuna mambo kadha wa kadha ambayo yanafaa kuzingatiwa ili isikae kama tu ni line moja, na ninashukuru kabisa kwamba Mheshimiwa Ruth mambo haya yameangaliwa sawa sawa, kwamba tumesema tu the committee pale kwa ward ni kama mama nyumbani. Kwa hivyo anaposhughulikia watoto anaelewa mahitaji ya watoto wake. Kwa hivyo kamati ni sawa na hiyo, kwa sababu wanajua mahitaji ya wanafunzi wale wote. Si tumesema tu kwamba ni pesa za chini ni 5,000. Lakini sasa huyu the committee wanajua mahitaji ya kila mwanafunzi. Kwa hivyo si wote watapata hizo 5,000. Hiyo tumesema tu ni ya chini. Kwa hivyo committee kule wanaona kwamba huyu ana mahitaji zaidi. Fee structure yake iko 20,000. Kwa hivyo committee wanaangalia mambo kama waone kwamba huyu mtoto wanamjua. Hata zile za secondary, wale pia wa secondary ambayo ni boarding, tumesema tu ya chini, hata kama ni lodo high, ya chini ni 10,000. Lakini sasa committee kule wanajua huyu mtoto ako lodo high na fees karo yake ni 50,000, 60,000. Kwa hivyo hawatampa sawa. Kwa hivyo kuna hiyo, utampa huyu 10, umpe huyu pengine 15. Kwa hivyo haja yetu hapa ninaona kwamba tunampa tu ya chini ni ngapi kwa kila hiyo category. So hivyo ndio vile iko. Hakuna mtu ameifungia akasema ni wote watapata hiyo. Wajua makamati wanaelewa kulingana na umaskini wa huyu mwanafunzi, fees ambayo imeonyeshwa kule. Kwa hivyo nashukuru sana. Na pia tukasema mambo na driving schools. Driving, computer, alafu hizo artisan. Okay, japo haijawekwa hapa. We never had it here, but it was meant to be silent. In fact, most members were saying.
Order, Chair.
Yes.
When you begin with one language, you proceed. You will reply in Kiswahili throughout.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Nilikuwa najaribu kujibu Honorable Kuya kwa sababu aliuliza kwa Kiswahili. Is that allowed? Do I continue?
The standing order does not give that provision. When you begin in Kiswahili, you proceed in Kiswahili. So you have to manage Kiswahili.
All right. Okay, sawa. Basi vile vile hizi courses drivers, pengine biology. In fact, most members wengine walikuwa wanasema hakuna haja, kama tu vile Mheshimiwa Lopayo alikuwa anasema kwamba hakuna haja huyu mtoto mdogo ambaye anaenda shule, hakuna haja akose pesa hizi eti kwa sababu tumemshughulikia huyu mtu anasomea biolojia, mtu ambaye anasomea mambo ya kompyuta. But then again, ile tu walisema ni kwamba wakasema kwamba pengine tutakuwa na ubaguzi. Tutaona kama itakuwa ni ubaguzi. Kwa sababu hao watu wanasema hata na sisi ni wakahazi wa wodi hii, hata sisi ni wapiga kura. So ikawa ni kwamba sio, hakuna haja kusema tu kwamba tuiweke kabisa kando. Hapana. So wakasema tu kwamba wacha iwe kimya. Lakini sasa committee kule lazima uweke hiyo namba ya hawa iwekwe chini. Isiwe wasimpe nafasi kwa wanaonufaika wawe wengi kuliko wale wanaenda sekondari, kwa sababu tulikuwa nasema kwamba ni kama 65% ya beneficiaries wanaonufaika na hii ni wanafunzi wanaoenda katika shule za upili. Kwa hivyo ili kwamba inaeleweka na kamati kule wajaribu kuangalia mambo hayo. Jambo la asilimia 4 ni wazi kwamba tunasema kwamba ni lazima iwe jambo ambalo linaangaliwa sawa kabisa. Hasa ile kamati ambao wako katika bajeti, hata katika ile wazilishaji wa department, lazima waone kwamba at least hiyo 4% ambayo iko katika sheria ya education fund lazima iangaliwe na isingatiwe zaidi, kwa sababu huwa tunapata pesa kidogo ambaye hawezi kumudu wanafunzi wote kunufaika kwa mambo haya. Wakasema kwamba milioni 430 ambayo ilipewa ilikuwa tu kabisa, ilikuwa ni kamati ya bajeti ndio walifikiria mambo hayo wakaweka hii pesa. So ni kama department executive walikuwa wanahofia ile jambo ambalo lilikuwa imeshikilia pesa zile hatukupata wakati ule. Kwa hiyo walikuwa wanaona kama huenda hata sasa wakiweka hizo pesa baada tutapata. Lakini tunashukuru kamati ya bajeti kwa sababu walifikiria zaidi ndio wakaweka hii pesa. So walifikiria tu otherwise sio ile ambayo imetoka kwa department ile. Kwa hivyo wao hawakuwa wameonyesha pesa hizo, hawakuwa idhinisha ameweka hizo pesa. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa tu ni kamati ndio walifanya mambo hayo. Mambo ya kupeana pesa kwa wodi zetu vile vile, kuona kwamba wana tasamia kwamba wodi zingine ni kubwa au ina idadi kubwa, ni jambo ambalo inataka kuzingatiwa. Na hili lililotolewa na Mheshimiwa Lopayo, akasema kwamba lazima hiyo kriteria inayotumiwa kufanya hiyo lazima ijali mambo mengi, mambo kadha wa kadha, kama umaskini, mambo pengine idadi ya wanafunzi, ama area wanaotoka wanafunzi hao, ama eneo hilo, hiyo wodi hiyo lazima iangaliwe kwamba wana uwezo, kwa sababu labda kwingine ni areas ambazo kuna mambo ya biashara, watu wanafanya kazi kwa wingi, lakini unapata kwamba areas zingine, maeneo mengine unapata kwamba ni ngumu wao kupata hata ya kukula. Kwa hivyo unapogawa hizo pesa kwa wards, ni lazima zingatiwe mambo kadha. Mambo hii ya zile rare skills vile vile tumesema kwamba ni jambo ambalo ni muhimu sana kwa kuzingatiwa, kwa sababu kuna skills ambazo hasipo katika katika county yetu ya Turkana, na kwa hivyo yanafaa kabisa kuangaliwa ili kuwezesha kumpa wanafunzi wale motisha, alafu ndio waende, na wakienda hivyo wafanye nini? Kamati inapopeana pesa waangalie wanafunzi ambao wamehitimu zaidi, na waweze kupewa na hata leadership, hata wale washikadau wengine wajaribu kuangalia vile vile wanafunzi hao ili wapewe moyo waweze, ili tuweze kuwa na watu tajriba mbalimbali ambao unaweza kuwa wanahitajika katika county yetu. Ukiona kama tuliambiwa kwamba Nakalale Kakuma waliweza kulipia wanafunzi 86,000. Hiyo ni jambo muhimu sana. Hiyo jambo kabisa ni vyema kabisa, na hiyo ni kumaanisha kwamba what criteria, why is that poverty, because mwenzetu alikuwa anaweka kwamba anatoka katika eneo ambalo kabisa iko chini kabisa, na sasa anaenda kozi ya udaktari. Kwa hivyo ndio sababu akaona apewe hizo pesa. Kwa hivyo ward zote yanafaa kuangalia hiyo na kuhakikisha kwamba hizi rare skills ni zipi ambazo hata mwanafunzi akihitimu, akishamaliza, basi anaweza hata kupata kazi, kwa sababu saa zingine tunakosa, alafu tunakomboa watu kutoka maeneo mengine, anakuja anapata kazi, ndio ni Mkenya, lakini sasa hatutaishi na yeye. Baada ya muda fulani anafanya nini? Anatoka. Lakini kama ni wakazi wetu, wale wetu hapa, basi haendi kwingine. Kwa hivyo atasaidia watu hao. Kwa hivyo ni vyema sana kuwatambua wanafunzi kama hawa. Mambo ya kutasamia na kuangalia na kubadilisha, kufanya marekebisho katika fund hii ni jambo la muhimu sana. Inafaa ifanywe namna hiyo, kwa sababu japo mambo yanakuja, hata wakati mnaanzisha mliweka kuna mambo ambayo pengine hayakuwa yameangaliwa wakati huo, na hiyo ndio vile hata katiba yetu kwa kwamba baada ya muda fulani then kuna ile review, kuna ile amendment. Kwa hivyo tunasema kwamba kunahitajika board iangalie mambo ambayo yako katika ile act tuliunda, ili kuweza kwamba kuna mambo ambayo yanahitajika kuzingatiwa. Na Vile vile mheshimiwa wetu bwana pia alirudia mambo kama haya kwamba ni vyema sana kwamba wale walishiriki katika kuunda ile mbona hawakuona kasoro hizo? Mbona hawakuona? Ndio japo nilikuwa nasema ni sawa, mambo ya amendments, mambo ya kuangalia na kuona kwamba haya yafai wakati huu, haya ndio yafai, ni kawaida kwamba ni process ambayo uja baada ya muda fulani. Kwa hivyo japo hivyo waliona, walishiriki watu ule, hatuwezi kosa kasoro, mambo fulani haya kuzingatiwa. Mambo ya mkopo kwa wanafunzi wetu, na vile tulisema kwamba hapa amendment lazima ifanywe ili kuona kwamba hata kama ni iondolewe, kwa sababu kwa sasa haijaanzishwa, haijafanya kazi. Na ni kwa sababu gani? Kwa nini program ya loans kwa nini? Lakini wasema ni kwamba ilikuwa katika act kwamba wafanyakazi wa county alafu assembly ndio wananufaika. Kwa hivyo nadhani ukawa kwamba haijaweka mambo fulani, inakaa kama inabagua watu fulani. Kwa hivyo alafu pia ile kofia, kwa sababu watu wetu wamezoea mambo kadha, wakipewa ona hata hizi loans zinapewa za cooperative, zinapewa kwa vijana na wamama. Many cases imefanya nini? Haijafanyika mpaka hivi. Hata ile ingine ilikuwa naita nini ya the national there, ilikuwa napewa vijana nini ilikuwa naitwa. So unaona sasa, wengine walilipa na wengine hawajalipa. So hata hii inahofiwa kwamba pengine hizi pesa watu wetu hawatalipa, pengine hawatalipa, mtu anamaliza, pengine anapata kazi kwingine. Kwa hivyo itakuwa labda ni hasara. So jambo ambalo linahofia ni kwamba yani hiyo program haitakuwa ya kuendelea zaidi. Na vile vile mambo ya scholarship ni kweli kwamba haijaanza, lakini tunaona tu kwamba wakati ilikuwa ianze wakaifanya makosa, wakampa wanafunzi wa shule za upili, na haikuwa namna hiyo, haikuwa iwe hivyo. So kwa hivyo ilikuwa kwa mambo ya rare skills ama hizi professions. So ikawa kwamba inaanza vile ilifanya, na ndio nafikiri kama nyumba hii sisi tuliona kwamba haikuwa inafaa uwe kwa wanafunzi. Alafu vile ilikuwa inapeanwa ilikuwa na kasoro zaidi, ilianza tu kwa njia ambayo haikuwa imefaa. Alafu jinsi gani pesa inapeanwa kwa wards, ndio ile tu tulisema kwamba inategemea ile poverty indexes, population, areas ambao maybe ward hiyo iko. Kwa hivyo kuona kwamba mambo haya yanafaa yaangaliwe zaidi. Tuliona kwamba ile wanatumia ni ile nini ya kitambo, sio ya kisasa. Na hizo miaka yote tangu tuseme 2013 maeneo yote ya wards yameendelea, yameongezeka, na si ajabu kuna zingine hata zimefanya nini, labda zimerudi ziko chini, sijui kama hiyo iko, but kitu ninaona kwamba kuna idadi ya wanafunzi imezidi zaidi. Kwa hivyo lazima waangalie ni mbinu gani, bali na kuangalia ile wanasema ile data ya wale applicants, the long list, leteni kama ni 6,000. Sasa that is the first consideration. Hawa ndio wanapaa wapewe nini, wao ni populace, yani wengi zaidi. Hivyo lazima wabuni mbinu mingi waweza kuangalia mambo kama hayo. Sorry, Madam Speaker. Mambo hayo ndio nilikuwa nataka at least kidogo kuongezea katika mambo haya. Vile wenzangu wamejaribu kuchangia kusema kwamba ni muhimu sana, na ningependa kuwashukuru zaidi sana jinsi mmechangia. Hivyo ndio vile mambo iko, lakini kitu ninajua tu ni kwamba mambo yataimarika, hayatakuwa vile ilikuwa kulingana na makubaliano hayo, mapendekezo hayo. Tunajua kwamba mambo hii itaimarika, na tunaomba tuone kwamba kuna ile kuimarika kwa kila jambo ambalo tumezungumzia, ili kwamba wanafunzi wetu jambo la 4%, jambo la 4% ni muhimu sana. Jinsi wenzangu wamechangia, hilo jambo ni muhimu sana, kwamba iwapo tu kabisa itazingatia hayo, and then during the estimates consideration, then the kamati ile ya bajeti iangalie kwamba hiyo ni haki, hiyo ni kweli, ili tupewe hizo pesa. Nadhani kwamba wanafunzi wetu wengi watanufaika. Pesa hizi zitaongezeka, si haitakuwa milioni 7.7 au 6.7. Kwa hivyo kazi kwetu, kazi kwenu wenzetu kwa budget kule, kuhakikisha kwamba hiyo jambo, kwa mambo yote hiyo inaangaliwa sawa. Kwa hivyo ningependa kuwashukuru sana Madam Kinara. Nataka kusema kwamba niketi nikiwa nimejibu hayo yamechangiwa na wenzangu. Asante sana.
You see, Honorable Chair, you have spoken Kiswahili. I think it is good once in a while that we speak in English, because our followers, those who are following us, are speak Kiswahili, so that they can understand. Now they have gotten what you wanted to say. Congratulations, Chair. So I now want to put the question that this County Assembly considers and adopts the recommendation contained in the report of the Education, Sports and Social Protection Committee on consultative meeting on bursary allocation for FY 2025/2026, laid before this House on Tuesday, 31st March 2026 at 9 a.m. May as many as of the same opinion say aye.
Aye.
May as many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk, next order.
Order number 10, adjournment.
Honorable members, there being no other business, the House stands adjourned until today, 2:30 in the afternoon.